Hey folks, welcome to another tutorial. In this one, I am going to show you how to make this incredible life counter spin dial. This is one of my most requested tutorials, so I am very happy to walk you through how to design one of these. I've just designed a simple plain one, but using my other tutorials, you can add your own logo or name or patterns or whatever you want to this. If you haven't seen those, do check out my other playlists. I'm releasing new tutorials every week. But without further ado, let's dive into this one. Okay folks, let's start by saying hello to our old friend the default cube before swiftly hitting X to bring up the delete menu and then saying goodbye to our old friend the default cube. What I would like you to do is hit Shift A and go to the mesh menu and bring in a cylinder. Now we're actually okay with the amount of vertices on this cylinder, and if we go to our cylinder menu at the bottom here, you'll see that it has 32 vertices going around. That is perfect. Now the radius and the depth, that isn't perfect. That's a little bit too much. So what we want to do here is bring our radius down to, or our circle to 2. Boom. And then we're going to bring our depth to 0.5. Now, if I zoom in, I get this dial here. This means that our overall diameter is going to be 4 centimeters with a depth of 0.5. So that is looking great. Actually, a little bit too thick. Let's do 0.3. Yeah, nice. Much nicer. Okay, cool. Now this is going to be one of our dials, but of course we need 2 of these. So what we can do is we can go into our modifier menu rather than, duplicating it. We can do it the easy way and just add a mirror modifier. Now, if I go into edit mode and I grab this on the x-axis and I move, you'll see that it creates another one mirroring it on the x-axis, which is the axis we're working on. And if you're wondering where it mirrors from this little alignment point. And right now you can see there's a little orange yellow dot, and there's also a 3D cursor. So we can move that alignment point should we ever want to change how our mirror modifier affects our dials. And you'll see us use that a little bit more in this tutorial. But for now, that's all we need to do. Now with the mirror modifier, what I can do is hit 3 to go into face select. I'm going to hit this face, and then hold Shift and hit the bottom face. And then I'm going to hit I to inset. And we're going to inset all the way to about, let's say about there. Great. Then we're going to hit X, and we are going to delete those faces. And as you see, with the beauty of the mirror modifier, what happens on one side also happens on the other side. So no double work needed. Now I'm going to hit 2 to go into edge select mode, and I'm going to select this edge, and then I'm going to hit F to create a face. Now what I can do is I can hit that side, and how cool it's happening on the other side here, look. But if I hit that edge there, and then if I continuously hit F, it's going to create faces all the way around. I can actually hold F, and it's just going to zoom all the way around until it can't do it anymore. How cool is that? So now we have our 2 dials ready and placed nicely. I'm actually going to hit A to grab all, and I'm going to grab this on the X. I'm going to move it a little bit closer. I don't want there to be really any gap between these 2 things. But what we have to watch out for is merge is on, and they've gone a bit too close, so they've actually merged together. If I turn that off, you'll see, if you can see in the middle there, you have to be careful of merge because it will merge within a certain amount of space, and we don't want that in this instance. Sometimes that will be great. We'll actually use that later as well. But let's grab all that on the X and move it pretty close together just so they can free spin. But when we have the numbers on these, it'll look great. And that is it for adding our dials at this moment. Now we can start building the casing around that. So let's do that right now. The first thing we're going to do is we are going to add a mesh. We're going to add a cube. Now, what we can do is just scale this down, scale this right down like this. Let's scale it on the Z, make it nice and flat. We actually want it about the same thickness as the dials, or even a little bit thinner, honestly, it doesn't matter. About there. And then if I hit 1 to go into front orthographic, we're going to go grab it on the Z, boom, like so. And then I am going to scale this on the X, so it's about here. It might be easier in front view, actually. If I go over the top, let's scale it on the X. We essentially want it where we have just a little bit poking out on the sides, because that's going to allow us to use our fingers or our thumbs to spin the dials. Then if I scale this on the Y here, we're going to bring this so it's just a little bit over the top of our dials because we don't want them poking out of the top. So pretty much exactly like that. And if I go to the side view again, I just want to make sure it's just underneath those dials. Great. That looks perfect to me. And that is pretty much our base done. Now, what we can do here is we can also duplicate this on the z-axis and just bring this up. Now, if I go into the side view mode, I'm going to bring this up just a little bit. I'm actually going to leave a little bit more of a tolerance here because we're going to add numbers to these dials and they're going to be a little bit rising up off the surface of the dial. So just leave a little bit more tolerance here, but a little bit more room there, exactly. And that is great. Now, I'm going to go into edit mode and I'm going to hit Control R and I am going to delete, sorry, I'm going to add a loop cut in the middle here. So when I, if I go into side view mode and then I go into 3 into face select, and then I went into wireframe mode and then grab all of these faces, hit X and delete. Now, if I go back into the solid shading mode, you'll see that I have this half box. Now, why did I do that? Well, the reason is I am going to duplicate this again using the mirror modifier, and I don't want to double work again. So I'll show you what I'm going to do here. To make sure we get a little window for our numbers, I'm going to hit Control R, and I'm going to add in some loop cuts like that. So I have added in 6 loop cuts. Now what I can do is I can go Control R, add another loop cut to about here. And then if I go 3 into face select, grab that face, hit X and delete faces. So now we have this little cut out. How cool is that? And you'll see here, if I go 2 into edge select, let's grab these edges here, hit F to grab a face, hit that edge, and then hit F to create that box. And now we have a box that is ready to be attached to, the other side that's going to give us a little window. And I'll show you how we do that. Again, just generate mirror modifier, and you will see there that we have now a little window and we see little dials poking through. How cool is that? So last thing to do is a little bit of cleanup. So I'm going to hit hold Alt, and hold Shift, and I'm going to grab these edges here, and then I'm going to hit X and dissolve them just because we didn't need them. I just used them as references to create this hole. Once that is done, we can also go into object mode and apply the mirror modifier so this becomes a solid piece. Now we can grab this edge, 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 and this edge, and we're going to hit Control B. We can bevel these. I'm going to scroll these up to about 6. I'm just going to bevel them to give it a nice, maybe 8, and give it a nice rounded edge. So let me just go into overhead mode, and look at that. We have this nice rounded edge that just really increases the quality here. And that is the top and bottom face plate done. So now let's create some rails and some pins to make this all fit together. And then it's just adding the numbers to the dials. Let's do that right now. Okay, so what we need to do is hide the top plate. You'll see here that I've labeled this top plate. You can just go into the top here, edit them. I've done top plate, I've done bottom plate, and I've done the dials just to make things easier. What we can do is just hide the top plate really quickly, and we essentially need to create 2 pins for these dials to spin around. So let's do that really quickly, and let's use the geometry we already have. So if I grab this and I go into 3 to go into face select mode and hit Shift and hit near one of these, Alt and hit near one of these edges, it will select all of these, and then we can hit Shift D to duplicate it, and we can duplicate it up on the Z-axis just so we can see what we're working with there. That looks great. And what I want to do is scale this by 0.98, just so it brings it in 2%, essentially. And I'm also going to scale it on the Z just to make it a little bit bigger than the dial. Now, if I go to edge select and then Alt and grab that top edge and press F to create a face, and then same again on this one, hit Alt and click, and it'll run all the way around there. Perfect. And then hit F to create a face. Now I can go into edit mode, into object mode, and you'll see that they're still part of the same object, which is not ideal because it makes it harder for us to move them. Now what we can do is in edit mode. If you click anywhere on your model, don't worry about this side, that's just the mirror version. If we click anywhere here and you hit L, it will attach all linked vertices that are on there, or edges in this case, because we're in edge select mode, which is perfect. So we have the whole thing selected. Then if you hit P, we can separate by selection, which is exactly what we want to do. Now up here, you'll see that we have dials, and then we have dials 001. So what we can do is if we go into object mode, just click in dials there, and let's put in pins. So now we have these pins. All that we've left to do now is hit G and bring these down on the Z-axis. Now, we can kind of eyeball it here by going into side mode, and you can see with the orange outline how much it's buried in. I'm just going to hit G and just bring this up because it doesn't need to be that much at all. Like, let's say like that. Perfect. And now we have those pins made. Now I'm going to create 4 more pins for the outer edge and do that really quickly just by going Shift A, Mesh, Cylinder. I'm going to scale this, not on the Z. Whoop. Let's bring this down, just like that. Then scale it on the Z, like so. Very, very cool. I am then going to grab this on the X, bring it all the way across here. And then I'm going to grab it on the Y and bring it all the way across there. Now you'll see here that the alignment point is in the middle of this object, which isn't ideal because what I want to do is essentially mirror this so it's in this corner, and this corner. But we can do that very easily by hitting right-click, set origin to 3D cursor, and now you'll see that it bounces there. And that is going to be the pivot point for our mirror when we mirror on the Y and mirror on the X, which is exactly what we want. So what we can do with that pin selected, we go add modifier, generate, where are you? Mirror modifier, and now it's mirrored on the X already. And if we mirror that on the Y, how cool is that? It's put the pins in the right place. Now, what I'm going to do is put the top plate back on just to have a look. Looks great to me. That is awesome. So hide the top plate again. What we can do is now we can connect all these pins to the bottom tray because we can print this flat and they can all print up together, which will be perfect. So all we have to do, grab the bottom tray, go to modifier and add a Boolean modifier, which is our way to use different shapes to either combine shapes or use shapes to cut out other shapes. So difference would be to cut out. Union, as you can imagine, is going to join them together. So if I use this little eyedropper and I select cylinder, you'll see that it kind of goes double gray here because it has now Booleaned them together. So if I hide that cylinder, boop, you'll see that that is all now one object, which is wonderful. Same again, these pins in the middle. If I grab that base, generate, add a Boolean, just select the pin, and hit union, you'll see again that it's created. You can see here that there's 2 meshes on top of each other. That's what it means when it does that kind of shaded pattern. So if we hide, where are the pins? All of that, if I go into isolate mode with /, you'll see now that we have this object, which is our bottom plate. Perfectly done. Okay, cool. Last thing to do with the top plate, come out of isolate mode. And now with the top plate, what we can do is now that we like the positioning of this, we can add a Boolean modifier again, but this time we want it to be the difference. We don't want a union, we want difference. So now if I come out here, if I hit isolate mode, you'll see that the difference cuts out all of those parts, which is perfect because that means we can push fit that together really neatly, and that will hold our dials in place. That is excellent. So that's the top plate and the bottom plate done. Now all we have to do is add the numbers to the dials, and we're cooking here. Awesome. Okay, folks, last part is adding numbers to these dials. So let's do that now. What I want to do is hide anything that we're not using. So basically hide all of this, hide the pins. So we're left with the dials here and hit 7 to go into the overhead mode. Now in object mode, hit Shift A and we're going to add in some text. Now you'll have a look where that is. It's probably buried somewhere. Oh, there it is. Massive over here as always, but let's delete that, and we're going to hit 1. And then that is going to be our first number. I'm going to scale that right down. Whoop, there you go. Zoom in, scale it right down. There you go. And let's set origin to geometry so it's in the middle of our number one. And then we'll grab that on the X, bring that across, scale it down again. Overhead mode, grab. And as you can see here, I'm just basically going to put it where I want it on the dial. Grab this over here. We can actually bring in the top plate here to have a look. Yeah, that's great. And then grab that on the Y a little bit, get it in the middle wherever we want it. About there. Cool. And then what I'm going to do is go to this data object. You see there's a little A here. This is where we can edit this text. So depending on what fonts you have on your computer, you can go into this folder, open font, and then just basically add whatever font you want for this. So I think I'm going to go for this Brussels Condensed Light font. I think that looks pretty neat. Here, sorry, I lost my text. Where is it? There we go. And let's just bring this up by going G, grab it on the Z. Oh. Can't grab that on the Z? What's happening here? I'm in edit mode. Whoops. Grab it on the Z. There we go. And bring that up like so. And what I can also do is extrude this in that same menu. We can go down here and you'll see under geometry, there is an extrude button. So let's extrude this just a little bit like so. So then when we're in the top view, you can see it looks a little bit more 3D. And we basically want to grab this, bring it down so it's until it's just sinking into our mesh there a little bit. That looks great. Okay, cool. Now, this is the bit that is a little bit repetitive, but I'm going to show you how to do the first few, and then you can just rinse and repeat this process over and over again, because what we're essentially going to do is the same thing over and over again to get each number on this dial. So what I want you to do is hit Shift D and duplicate that. I'm going to duplicate it on the X and put it in the same place that we want it on the other side, like so. And then what we can do is just hide that one. And for this one, let's actually do it as 0. Let's start with 0. Perfect. And then if we hide this top again, we have the 0 in the right place. What we need to do is duplicate this 9 times so we have every number that we need there. So just hit, if where it says text, you can change that to 0. And then what we do is let's duplicate this, duplicate it, duplicate it. What I'm doing is hitting Shift D and then clicking, duplicate it, duplicate it, duplicate it, duplicate it, duplicate it. And then here you'll see that I have all these and we should have 10. And then you can just relabel all of these. 2, relabel that one. 3, 4, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We actually need one more. Whoop. Duplicate. And 9. So we now have a bunch of zeros all stacked on top of each other that are all exactly the same, but that is okay, because what we're going to do is we're going to hide all of them except the one we're working with. And the reason we need to do that is because we basically have to do the same thing over and over again to add these to the dial, but we need them in exactly the same place to make sure that this works properly. So what we're going to do is, because this is still a text object, we're going to right click, we're going to convert to mesh. Now that it is a mesh, we're going to grab our sphere here. Actually, at this stage, we can also apply that mirror modifier and then hit L, P, and separate that other side, just so these are 2 separate dials. And you'll see why in a second. What I'm going to do now is grabbing this, I'm going to set the origin to the center of the mass of this. You see, it's in the middle of this dial. Because what I'm going to do is essentially with all of these in the same place, we are going to slowly spin the dial by 36 degrees, because that's 360 degrees divided by 10. And we're going to keep slowly rotating it and basically using the Boolean modifier to attach this number to it, as we will do right now. So I'm going to show you how to do a few of them, and then I'm just going to speed up the video to go through the rest, because you don't need to see me do all 20 on both sides, but you'll get the idea, and then you can just keep going until it's done. So let's get started. So yeah, we convert this to a mesh, and then if we grab the dial, we can go Shift, Generate, Boolean, Union, grab that 0 and click, and you'll see now that it you get the shading again. Then we can hit, very important, hit apply, and that's going to add it to that spot. Now hide the 0, bring up the 1, and this is the part that we're going to do over and over again. Grab this, and we're going to hit rotate on the Z 36 degrees. Now you'll see that the 0 moves up here, which is very cool. And then what we can do is do the same thing again. So we're going to go into edit mode, delete that, and put a 1. And then we are going to come out of there. We're going to convert that to a mesh. We are going to grab the dial, add a modifier, generate, Boolean, union, grab that 1, boop. And you'll see there that you can see that it's got the double shading, so we know it's worked. Apply. Then you can hide that 1, grab the dial, and then rotate on the Z by 36 degrees, and you'll see that it moves along. Now we have a 0 and a 1 on there. I'll do a couple more just so you fully know what I'm doing. So each step. So now it's the number 2. So we're going to go into edit mode, delete, hit 2 to add this in, then back into object mode, convert into a mesh, grab the dial, then we go Boolean, union, and grab that number 2. You'll see that it becomes part of it. Make sure to apply that Boolean, hide the 2, and then yes, rotate on the Z by 36 degrees. Very important we keep doing this very accurately. So then number 3, I'll do one more time, and then I'll basically speed up the video just so you don't have to sit through all this. You can just do this on your own time. But essentially, we're going to delete that, add in a 3, right click, convert to mesh, and then grab the dial, add, generate, Boolean, and then we go union, and we grab 3. Then final thing, make sure you apply that, hide the 3, and then rotate 36 degrees on the Z-axis and do the next one. All right, cool. I'm going to race through all of these, but you can just keep going at your own time, and then we will reconvene once this is done on both sides. So I'll do this first dial, and then the next dial is a little bit different because it's reflected but not fully reflected. So we can't just copy this dial over, unfortunately. So let me do all of these, and then we will rejoin up onto the next dial and then do it again. Okay, cool. Here we go. Okay, I just finished all of the numbers on the left-hand dial. Once you're here with me, we're then going to move on to the next side, and we essentially need to take that other number that we did before, text 1, this guy over here, and what we can do is we can actually we don't need him at all. Let's delete him. What we can do is take all of these numbers that we used before. We make them all visible. So we only have to do half the work here. If we select all of those, and then we need to bring those over, so we can hit grab that on the x-axis and just bring those over so they're in the right place. Sorry, a little bit more, about there. Great. Then we can do the same thing again. Now, the reason we have to do it is because these numbers are all oriented on the right-hand side of this dial. So when it spins, we can see them all there. This dial, they all need to be oriented on the left-hand side of the dial. So when they spin, they meet. So they're kind of reflections of each other, but not quite, which is why we have to do this process again. But you've just done this 10 times, so you should be great at it by this point. So let's do it again. So hide all of the numbers except the ones you're going to use. Now, one important difference is we don't need to convert these to a mesh because they already have been. But once we add the Boolean here, so let's do the first one, generate Boolean union, add this. So before we add our next number, the difference is that we first need to grab this. You see our pivot point is in the wrong place. So set origin to the center of mass. And then if we rotate on the z-axis, this time rather than 36, it's going to be minus 36 because we want it to rotate the other way. Because it's sort of a reflection of this dial, we need them both to be rotating like this. So this one is a, minus 36. And then if we get number 1, that comes up. Again, this is already a mesh. So all we need to do, grab the dial, generate, Boolean, union, eyedropper, grab the 1, and then hit apply. Then again, rotate on the z-axis, minus 36, hide the 1, get the 2, and same again. Generate, so generate, Boolean, union, grab that 2, whoop, apply, and then again, rotate minus 36 on the Z. So I know, folks, a little bit tedious, but it's the best way to add these numbers on here. So here we go. Again, I'll do the last one, and then I'll rush through it again, and then we will join again at the end of the video. So, okay, let me do this one. So make sure the dial is selected. We're going to go generate, Boolean, union, eyedropper, grab that 3. Also, if you struggle with the eyedropper, you can also search for it in this menu here. So boom, grab that 3, union, apply, boom, hide the 3, and there we go. Okay, cool. I'm going to rush through the rest of these now, and then we will meet at the end of the video. Ooh, well done, folks. I know that was a little bit tedious, but there we have it. We have dials on both, numbers on both of these dials looking great. So now what we can do, we can add in the bottom plate, looking cool there. If we go add in the top plate, great. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this top plate, grab it just down a little bit, just so it's just above those numbers. We don't want it rubbing, but we don't want them shaking around in there either. And that is it. We have created a life counter spin dial with a little window there. And using my other tutorials, you can decorate the front and back of this however you like. But right now it's designed to print with no supports. How cool is that? We print the bottom plate, print the dials, and print the top plate. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to send it right off to my printer, and then let's have a look at how this thing turned out. Well done, everyone, on another excellent tutorial. Thanks for sticking with me with this. I know it had some tedious stuff in there, but well worth it because you've learned some new skills and some new design techniques. So yeah, I hope you were able to get in the flow with this one, and yeah, let's see how this thing's turned out. Oh my goodness, folks, look how cool this thing is. So you can move through the dials here on your numbers. So you now have a dial from 0 to 99. Isn't that amazing? This is going to be perfect in my Treebeard life counter magic deck because my life totals get pretty crazy. But yeah, isn't that excellent? I hope you've really enjoyed this tutorial. I really enjoyed teaching it. Again, with my other tutorials, you can now go forth and put your logo on this or your name on this. You now know how to emboss and add weaves and add different designs and patterns. If you haven't seen those tutorials, Please check out all of my playlists. I am releasing new tutorials every week. This one was super fun. I know it had some tedious parts, but I think those tedious parts can be quite mindful. But yeah, if you enjoy this tutorial, please like and subscribe. I really appreciate you doing so. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. I've been Copper Thumb. You've been awesome. I'll see you later.